boy Chaz Pearson, and this is the Outlet Forum with my esteemed co-host Chris Camello. What up, dog?
Man, the trade deadline might be stealing the show away from mundane Super Week, with all those faceless non-personalities up there in Santa Clara.
Chris, whoa. Before you start to shit on the Super Bowl, this is not a Super Bowl show, although I will give you picks at the very, very end. This is the Outlet Forum trade deadline special, and we got trades, y'all. It was slow moving all week long until Giannis decided, hey, it's time to get the fuck out of Milwaukee. James Harden said, I'm trying to get some more money. Time to get the fuck up out of LA. Vucevic said, I need to get the hell up out of Chicago. Get my ass over to Boston. AD said, damn, I got traded again. We will get into all of that in tonight's show. But first, Chris, we got to get into the most recent trade that literally just dropped right as we were going live. Jonathan Kuminga finally tells Steve Kerr, fuck you, and gets out of Golden State and gets into Atlanta. I know you didn't like that, but look, Kuminga does not have strong feelings for Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr obviously doesn't have strong feelings for Kuminga. He wouldn't play his ass, even though Kuminga was actually pretty good, I think. What do you make of the trade, and what does this mean for Porzingis now in Golden State?
Well, first of all, what's funny about a lot of these trades? How healthy are some of these guys? Right? That's really the question. How healthy are they? Are they going to be hitting the ground running? I think some of them are, but then some of them are not. That's the problem. Kristaps Porzingis has been dealing not just with an injury, but like with a health condition that goes back to even what he started during the NBA Finals, right? Didn't this start during like the 24 Finals, and he's been dealing with this ever since? So, or I think it was last year in the playoffs, 24 Finals, he was dealing with knee issues. So this is obviously a significant deal, not just for Golden State, but for the Atlanta Hawks too. The Hawks decide to pivot. We thought Porzingis was going to be someone who's going to shore up their front court. We thought that, that maybe Atlanta would have a chance this year in a wide open Eastern Conference. It just hasn't quite worked out that way. They moved off of Trae Young, and now this is the direction they want to go to. For the Warriors, it makes sense. They finally get out of Kuminga, which has been a major distraction for them over the past year plus. I don't know if depending on the health of Porzingis, I don't know if this moves them much up the Western Conference rankings, Chaz, to be quite honest, or the standings, I should say. But it's a move that I think, right, but it's a move that I think they felt necessary to make in order to try to go all in with this core group and see if they could somehow catch lightning in a bottle, similar to bringing in Jimmy Butler last year. But I think the good news is Jonathan Kuminga finally gets a clean slate, which is disappointing because he showed a lot of promise with the Warriors, and I really thought him and Moody and a few others were going to kind of be the second coming of that team. And now it's just kind of they were at a stalemate, and Mike Dunleavy was like, forget it. Let's get Porzingis. At the very least, we get some cap space. We get this headache off our books.
I love it. I mean, I love the deal specifically for Kuminga because he gets to play on a team now with Jalen Johnson, who's another rising star in the Eastern Conference. And the fact that he's going to be paired with that guy going on pick and rolls, inside, outside type of game, along with Dyson Daniels, of course. Trae Young is out of there. They can spread the ball. Onyeka Okongwu is, I've said last week, one of my favorite players, even though he is coming back after getting his mouth completely smashed. And that was a crazy injury earlier this year. But I just love the move for Kuminga and Atlanta. This seems like a great move for them to be able to be free-flowing. A player like Kuminga is just going to do wonders for that team. And for the Golden State Warriors, they get the size. Now, obviously, they're out of the Giannis running at this point. But you have a solid lineup now with Steph Curry, Podziemski, assuming Draymond Green will be there, Moses Moody, and Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, that's a solid lineup to try.
It is.
So
it is.
I don't hate the deal. I don't hate the deal at all, especially now that the Warriors traded Trace Jackson Davis for a second round pick as well with playing time. So I love it, man. I love the deal.
Yeah. Yeah, my only issue with Kuminga is this is not a role that he is just going to slide into, right? You have Jalen Johnson there. You have Risache, who was the number 1 overall pick in last year's draft. You mentioned Dyson Daniels. So there are, that guard wing position is pretty loaded as it is with the Hawks. So I just hope, I think Kuminga will get more of an opportunity. I think Quinn Snyder's a very capable head coach, has developed some good young talent through the years. And if nothing else, I guess it doesn't really matter where you go or what your role is, just as long as you're out of Golden State, you're out of Steve Kerr's doghouse, and a chance to kind of reestablish yourself. And for the Warriors, they get a stretch 5 when healthy. I think he would be. I don't know if you mentioned the pick and roll potentially with Steph Curry or even with Jimmy Butler would be very effective. So I mean, we'll see what happens. Shout out to my guy Paco. Paco Solt is in the house. He's on the YouTube chat right now. We'll get to some of your comments in a few minutes, Paco. So sit tight and enjoy the show. But yeah, that was obviously the FD Warriors just staring my feels. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. But Chaz, that was not the obviously that trade just happened right now. But let's get to some of the other big deals that have happened today and yesterday. And I know you want to get into the Clippers Casual, which ironically enough, they're playing each other tonight at the Intuit Dome. Break it down, brother.
The Cavs are absolutely putting the spanking on the Clippers by 20 points. And Garland, Harden, none of those guys are out there trotting out tonight. So it's a tough night for the Clippers. But I actually like the deal because they get out of the James Harden business and they have a younger, more versatile star that they can play in a different multitude of ways. Tyronn Lue sounded absolutely thrilled about this deal. Obviously, I don't think he wanted to get rid of James Harden like that, but
no.
Were you really going to pay James Harden 40, 45, 50 million for another year, 2 year, whatever it was going to be? I don't think so. So I just ultimately think that James Harden went to get more money out of the Clippers, and rightfully so. I mean, he's playing great. He has all of the leverage. He's doing everything that he needs to. I just think that he only has $1 million guaranteed for next year. They could waive him by July, so he was going to have to be able to do something to get himself a better deal, and that's exactly what he did. I don't blame him at all for it. Whatever his reputation is now, it is what it is. James Harden has never seen a payday that he didn't like, and that's not to say that it's all about the money for him. But everybody makes it about like, oh, you're the issue. Oh, you're the issue. But look, at the end of the day, it's a business. I have to feed my family. I have to get out of this game as much as I put into it. And at this point, yes, I want to win. Yes, I want to be able to, hoist up a trophy. But I do think that some of the things that he said to Ramona Shelburne in that interview were, a little misleading at best, in terms of saying, I wanted the Clippers to get some kind of draft compensation for me, and they're doing a rebuild, or whatever the case may be. I don't think it was a bad perspective that he was coming from, but ultimately you have to be able to salvage your reputation. I don't blame him one bit. Go get every dollar you can by putting yourself in the best position to win as much as possible. That's what he did. Cleveland is going to be absolutely great, because just from the fact that Darius Garland wasn't on the floor enough, and the rumors were that Cleveland didn't really appreciate the fact that Darius Garland didn't do everything that he was supposed to do in order to get back on the floor. So there's that little tidbit as well. I don't know how you think that, hey, I want to be able to make sure that I don't have any, playoff woes anymore, but then you get into the James Harden business instead of out of the James Harden business. So I do think that that's a little bit weird, but at the same time, I do think James Harden right now is a better player than Darius Garland, and makes the Cleveland Cavaliers more ready to win a championship now than they were 24 hours ago. So, and Vegas agrees with me. They have the third best odds now of winning the NBA championship, aside from the OKC Thunder and uh, uh,
Detroit Pistons.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you
No,
have
I'm
a
sorry,
hard time saying.
not the Pistons. Nuggets.
Is it
Nuggets. It
Denver?
was
Denver Nuggets. Okay. All right. Yeah. So first of all, this was the second major deal that the Cleveland Cavaliers made in the last 3 days. They traded DeAndre Hunter, who was there, if you recall, last year, their big trade acquisition, right? From at the time, where was he? The Atlanta Hawks. And they got him in Cleveland, and they thought he was going to be a difference maker, and he was up until the semifinals against Indiana. And they ended up trading him to Cleveland for Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. So they essentially wanted to change up the guard position. So they got two very good defensive-minded guards. Keon Ellis, I think, could be a piece for them for the foreseeable future. Dennis Schroeder is, a good veteran piece, good for a contender. We saw what he's done with the Lakers in years past. We saw what he did last year with the Detroit Pistons. Everywhere he has gone over the last couple of seasons, he's been fairly good. So now this came out of nowhere, right? We heard about this trade on Monday, or that it may go down Monday. It officially went down on Tuesday. Why it makes sense for Cleveland? Well, because I think they saw the writing on the wall that we have accomplished all we can with this group. We've seen what Garland and Mitchell can do the last few postseasons. It hasn't quite worked out. So you know what? We're going to go big. Now, well, why is it good for the Clippers? Well, you get out underneath from Harden's contract, who's 36 years old in year 17. You get a younger player. And if you recall, Chaz, the Clippers have been linked to a lot of young guards this year. They were linking them to Ja Morant. They were linking them to LaMelo Ball. It was obvious they were looking for another young playmaking guard to basically pair with Kawhi Leonard for the next few years and give them a pillar potentially for years forward. Now, is Darius Garland that guy? I'm not so sure. Two-time All-Star, yes. He's had some injury issues, ankle, toe, all of this other stuff. No one's denying the talent, but the availability isn't quite there. So the Clippers, their season is done. I thought they were going to see this process through. Is volume not working? Can you hear me okay?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
I don't know why
Okay,
Paco
no.
said. I can't
Okay,
hear
yeah.
you.
Maybe Paco's dealing with some issues on his end. So now the Clippers are feeling like even if everything would have worked out, we're probably going to get knocked out in the first round facing a Denver, an OKC, or the Houston Rockets, one of those teams, right? So this made sense for the Clippers. And for Harden, you avoid the mess because we all know when it comes down to the contract, Shaz, it always kind of turns messy. It turned messy in Houston. It turned messy in Philadelphia. Companies lied to, et cetera, right? Here's my problem with it for Cleveland. Everyone's excited. Oh, Mitchell's excited. Harden is excited. Right. But two things. These are two guys who have had probably the biggest disappointments in the playoffs the last 3 to 4 years. And in Harden's case, a lot longer than that. The biggest moments in the playoffs, James Harden has usually fallen short. That's been the problem. That's one. Two, you have two ball-dominant guards. Now, Harden has proven he could work with ball-dominant guys and be effective, but is it to the point now where is the chemistry going to be instant, even with the two bigs there, and you can set up the pick and rolls and everything? And two, are two guys that have been terrible in the playoffs in years past going to work out and finally get over the hump? It's almost like two terribles eventually equal a positive. It's like the old math equation. A negative times a negative equals a positive. I think that's what Cleveland is showing. That's what Kobe Altman and the ownership are believe.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately for Kobe Altman, I do think that he made the right deal. He did what he was supposed to do, keeping the franchise, top of mind, going for it, making sure that he puts Donovan Mitchell in the best position to win because he has a contract that's looming. They have to pay him an extension either this summer or next summer. So it's just going to be a pretty interesting year or two. It's like a 2-year window is essentially this postseason and next postseason for the Cavs. And you got to do something. You have to at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals. You cannot get bounced out in the first or second round after making this deal. You just can't, especially with the window that you have. You have to face New York or Boston or Atlanta or even Philly, who's playing without Paul George, now missing 25 games, whatever the case may be. You just can't allow that to happen. So Cleveland got to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So we will definitely see about that when it comes to them. Great trade. I do think that James Harden did the right thing for himself, getting himself paid. He doesn't have an extension yet, but obviously if he shows improves in Cleveland, they have the space to do so, and he'll get his 40+ million as long as he plays the way that he's playing now or was playing before the last couple games. And reportedly he took himself out of the lineup and they traded him. So man, I admire, let me just say this. I admire how James Harden gets himself in and out of situations and remains paid and does not take a big drop off from team to team in terms of his individual production and on-court leadership. Like that to me is impressive, how you can go from team to team to team and still garner that type of respect, that type of production. He's a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. And
no, this is not about Harden.
Actually, I'm just taking a moment to give him some flowers on the same day. And everybody wants to shit on him and say, "Oh, he's selfish and this and that." Fuck you. If anybody had any type of relevance themselves to be able to do for themselves what James Harden did for him, Dennis Schroeder, if Anthony Simons or Kristaps Porzingis, there's so many players that have gotten traded that are not on their terms, that don't get paid and have to take pay cuts and stuff like that. Drew Holiday, like the list goes on and on. I am impressed with how James Harden, like there's levels to this. And players like that, when that brother says he wants out, it's time to get him the fuck up out. And he still remains paid. To me, that speaks volumes to not only the player that he is, but the businessman that he is as well for himself, and the agent that he's with also. Not making bad decisions business-wise.
Well said. No, this has never been about James Harden not wanting to get paid. I totally understand that. I am just stating a fact. It has gotten ugly through the years, these exits from these teams. It got ugly in Houston. There was even some controversy. The other team I forgot to put in there was Brooklyn. He wasn't there that long. Even that, there were some issues with Kyrie Irving and all of that. So you have had some issues. And then the Philadelphia situation with Daryl Morey. This was a lot cleaner. It happened quicker. It was obvious they weren't on the same page about the future of the team. And I think Harden, deep down, probably knew this team is not going anywhere anyway. Yeah, I want to stay in LA, and I like playing with Kawhi, and I like even play with Ty Lue. And this is my hometown team, basically, right? If I could have a chance to finish my career here, that's fine. But we're not that good. They're not going to pay me, so why am I going to stick around? I think it was a calculated risk from both sides. I think both sides saw we're not good enough as currently constructed to make a deep run in our respective conferences. So you know what? What do we have to lose here? Like you said, it's a 2-year window with Garland. If it doesn't work out with the Clippers and Garland, they can move on from him. If it doesn't work out with Harden and the Cavs, they could decide to part ways and Harden can go somewhere else. One of the most complete offensive players over the last 10, 12 years. No one is ever going to deny that about James Harden. The issue I have had, and maybe this doesn't matter because you're already between the rock and a hard case, like Sean Connery would say in The Rock, would be, is this guy who has fallen short so many times in the playoffs finally due to break through? Him and Mitchell doing it together. And Donovan Mitchell has also been on some great Utah teams and even some good Cavs teams, particularly last year, and then shat the bed in the second round. That's all I'm saying, Chaz. Was it that necessary of a risk? And does it guarantee them even a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals? I'm not even sure about that, bro.
No, it doesn't guarantee, but it gives you a better chance than you had 24 hours ago.
That's what I'm saying.
And you calculate risk. You get out of 3 years of Darius Garland when he's not doing everything that you think to get back on the floor. So it makes a lot of sense for both sides. Tyronn Lue said it best. He's happy for both sides. Moving on, because there are plenty of other trades. And Paco, we will get to the Lakers. But we won't really mention them too much because it's for them to make, because everybody else is making deals and they have to pick up the scrap pieces in terms of, getting who they want. Like, they have to wait until probably the deadline to see who's available and who might still be available. I just really hope they get somebody like Jared Allen. Like, if they could get Jared Allen, that would be absolutely amazing. But I don't think they will. Moving on to another big man who was traded. Surprisingly, AD, Anthony Davis, traded to the Washington Wizards. This actually hurt my heart to see. Anthony Davis traded, for a slew of players, like a bunch of no-name guys that he should not even be in the trade with. D'Angelo Russell, Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum.
Was Hardy in the trade? I'm not too sure. Here, I got the exact trade over here.
Go ahead.
I got the. Hold on, I got the exact trade right now. So it was Anthony Davis, Dante Exum, D'Angelo Russell. So Davis. Oh yeah, you're right. It was Hardy. My apologies. Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. So 4 from Dallas. They get back to Washington for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, who's a pretty good young player, Malachi Branham. I don't even know if he's been playing. Marvin Bagley III, 2 first-round picks and 3 second-rounders. Now, here's the deal with the first-round picks. They're receiving a 2026, which is this summer, a Thunder first-round pick. So that's going to be low. And, obviously for Dallas, I guess it doesn't matter because they were devoid of any sort of draft capital because of all the big moves they've made in recent years. So that's good for them, even though it's not going to be a super high pick. The other pick is a 2030 protected Warriors first-round pick. So that one, we'll see what that comes about, and we'll see where the Warriors are at. That could potentially be something big down the road. So what was so intriguing about the last couple of days, Chaz, was how many of these small market teams got in as buyers, which really didn't make sense. Now, Washington already made a move to get Trae Young, and we thought, is this a salary cap situation or what? Trae Young has barely played this year. He's been dealing with the MCL injury. But when you look at Washington, even though the Lakers destroyed them last Friday, they still have some good young talent. Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, I think is going to be a really nice player. I know a lot of people were not super high on him. He should have been the number 1 pick. He got picked number 2. So now it's like, well, we've got these young players, right? Why not add 2 stars whose value is low, who may be hungry to rebuild themselves? Not to mention, Washington's going to have a top 5 draft pick in this year's draft, which is supposed to be a good one. We've got a decent core. Now we've got a couple of star players guaranteed through, I believe, through next season. Why can't we be in a position like, let's say, Detroit is this year? Maybe not to that extent, but you know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we catch lightning in a bottle the way Detroit has this year, or in Indiana last year, or, some of these other teams? Why can't that be us? You know what I'm saying? And don't forget, what were we hearing for the last few years, Chaz? The Lakers are going to go trade for Trae Young and put him alongside Anthony Davis, and that will be the future of the team in the post-LeBron era. We were already hearing these rumors. Now it's become a reality just in D.C. It sucks that AD got traded. It sucks that Dallas didn't see the process through. But between AD's injuries, Kyrie's injuries, some of the other issues that the Mavs have had this season, they decided, you know what? We might as well deal him now, get these picks, start the rebuild a little bit more, and then, try to see if we can incorporate some of these young guys within our team, not to mention buy out Chris Middleton, and we've got some cap relief as well. So it's not the greatest deal for either side, but I think if you're Anthony Davis, you have to at least say, we might have a shot in a weak conference to do something potentially next year. If I'm healthy, if Trae is healthy, and the rest of these young guys continue to move forward. So it sucks, but there was no good situation for AD regardless.
I think
your thoughts.
I think the Dallas Mavericks should have waited until the summertime. They could have done this deal anytime.
I agree.
So if you wait till the summer, if you wait till the summer, you could probably get more or better players, or do him a solid and get him to a better franchise other than the Wizards. But I'll say this for AD, I always envisioned Trae Young or Luka on the Lakers. Luckily, it's Luka, but I always wanted AD to play with Trae Young. It sucks it's not in LA, but I am excited to see what those two players, when healthy, can do. Lineup, Trae, but and how they'll get up and down with those two players. So we'll see how it works out for the Washington Wizards. I do like that they're at least putting an entertaining product on the floor, kind of like how Charlotte is now,
and Utah,
that are playing much better, and Utah going for it. So teams that have been abysmal for the last 5 years or so are starting to, come out the mud a little bit in Charlotte, Utah, and now Washington Wizards. Hopefully with AD, I hope they're not as bad as they were the last few years with them. There's no way they can be with the healthy AD and Trae Young, but it just remains to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a dynamic front court too. Like I said, Sar, AD, Trae Young, Bilal Coulibaly, right? Keyshawn George, I like his game. He's pretty good, kind of underrated. Bubs Carrington coming up off the bench. Who's the other Johnson? Trey Johnson. I think he's hurt right now. And then also too, they'll have Chaz a top 5 pick in this upcoming draft. Who knows? Maybe they get one of the Boozer brothers or that kid Peterson from Kansas. Who knows? I don't know. I haven't really been following college that much, so I'd have to do some research. But I'm just saying, Washington, if healthy. Big if, by the way, because we know Anthony Davis's reputation, even Trae Young has been injury prone the last few years. They could potentially be a nice surprise in next year's Eastern Conference. That's all I'm going to say. It sucks. And I agree with that question. Did Dallas pull the trigger too soon? I agree with you. They did. They could have done this at season's end. But given the fact that AD is going to be out till March, April, if he comes back at all this year, no, we haven't heard anything about Kyrie Irving, even Jason. Remember, everyone was like, oh, Kyrie will be back in January. Bro, it's the first week of February. And Jason Kidd said a few weeks back, when he wasn't chewing out reporters, was talking about maybe Kyrie comes back after the break or maybe he doesn't come back at all. We don't know. So Dallas was stuck between a rock and a hard case. So at least they got some picks. I guess that's the only bright side they got out of it. Not great picks, but picks nonetheless. And, you always talk about the importance of draft capital.
Always need that draft capital. And especially you need draft capital when players, like every year, like we see. This is the first year, Chris, where somebody became available that we didn't. It happens every year. But this year, the biggest star that became available, we've seen and have thought that they were going to become available. It was only a matter of time. And Giannis has finally said it's time to get out. But I just don't think he's going to get out in time to make a run this postseason. He's not going to get out. Will he be moved? My answer is no. But the Wolves and the Heat are doing everything they can back channels to try and get additional picks to give to the Milwaukee Bucks to make them think about it. The Golden State Warriors, there's nobody happier than Draymond Green. He sounded very sad when he was talking about it being realistic for him to get out of or be traded out of Golden State because it was coming to the deadline. But now that they get Porzingis off Kuminga out of the Giannis sweepstakes, at least for now, Draymond is safe at least until June 15th. So we will see how that plays out. But I don't think Giannis gets moved. But I will say this. It says something to me. Miami's always been on Giannis. Like, he loves the beach. He's from Greece. Miami's like the closest thing that resembles Greece. Like, no state tax. Makes all the sense in the world. Miami's always has been on his radar for 5+ years. But the fact that Giannis has identified Ant-Man, who has a motor just like this guy, and Giannis himself, speaks volumes to me about the player that Ant is. The fact that Giannis wants to attach his legacy to specifically this guy, is the reason why the Wolves are even in the mix in the first place. Outside of obviously assets and, having a good roster, They are going to have to give up Jaden McDaniels. They'd probably have to give up Dante DiVincenzo. They'd probably have to give up Julius Randle, Naz Reid. I wouldn't say all 4 of those guys, but probably
but that's going to be the
3
selection.
of those guys, plus draft capital as well. So we'll see. I think the Wolves have more assets than the Heat. We'll see what they can back channel over tonight and into tomorrow to try and get them, or to get Giannis, or be able to put a better offer up for him. But Chris, what do you think? Like, let's just move this forward a little bit. Do you think that
he's not moved by tomorrow? I agree with that. He's not going to be moved by tomorrow.
He stays put. He just So what do you think now? But here's the thing: Milwaukee. When I say move it forward, I mean Milwaukee has to lose every game they can, so that way their pick doesn't go to. I think it's the worst of the New Orleans pick and their pick. They get to swap the worst of the two.
Oh, the swap,
But they have to lose. Like they pretty much have to tank, and they won a game tonight that they probably shouldn't have won against New Orleans in overtime by 4 points, 141-137. But like Giannis is going to want to come back at some point. Do you shut him down?
I would say
a pretty hellacious end to a season for a few months.
It will.
Milwaukee from
this has got. Hold on. This has got the makings of an Anthony Davis 2019 situation written all over it. With the only exception is I don't know if it'll have the hostility behind it, but I just think Giannis is done at this point. But him being a competitor wouldn't shock me if he came back and tried to finish out the season and get it, see if lead the team through the play-in tournament and everything like that. I just think at this point though, it's obviously done. Miami, it just feels like they don't have a great history of making these trades in recent years. And, we talk about Pat Riley, the godfather of South Beach and everything, and how great he is. And obviously Pat's a Hall of Famer. He has put the Miami Heat franchise on the map, not just the NBA map, but the sports map, 3 championships under his tenure. But it feels like over the last 5-6 years, we've given him every benefit of the doubt. And he has struck out a lot on landing a lot of these big time stars, with the exception of Jimmy Butler. I wouldn't even throw Bam into that conversation because Bam was a draft pick. Tyler Hero was a draft pick. So this could be the guy, like you said, this is the guy that you go all in for. And if you're Miami, I don't, outside of trading Bam, which I don't even think he's super untradeable, but trying to keep him, you would tell Milwaukee, take whoever you want. Basically, we want Giannis here, and give me a year or so or this summer to try to build around them. I think that's the other complicated aspect of it, is Milwaukee is going to try to get anything and everything that they can, and they want pieces for the future. And when I look at both of these squads, Chaz, I don't see a star in the making. I see a good collection of role players, but I don't know if you could build a team around Naz Reid. I don't know if you could build a team around Tyler Hero. I don't know if these are guys that you could build with that could be contributing team, but I don't think that these are guys you build around. And if you're trading a player like Giannis, you want to get not just the picks, but is there a young piece that we could now tailor our team around as a potential pillar? And I just don't see that. So, and I certainly don't see that getting resolved by tomorrow. So that's the thing. I think if you're Milwaukee, if it's too complicated, it doesn't feel right, you wait till the summer, you eat it this year, and then you try this again in June.
Summer happens.
And the summer of Giannis, it opens things up to more teams, more suitors. I just think that would be the best bet. That would be the safe bet. But hey, I've been wrong before.
Oh, then the Spurs can get involved. The Lakers can get involved. The Rockets. Knicks can really get. That's where he would go if they wait until this. If he makes it to the summer, he's going to New York, Miami, or LA.
Yeah.
No,
I agree. I think
he's going to a big market. He's not going to the Spurs, even though they'll get involved. He's not going to the Rockets. He is going to a big market. Knicks, Lakers, Heat. That's it. If he makes it to the summer. That's my opinion about Giannis. We got just a couple more trades to talk about before we get on out of here, Chris. One last thought on Giannis. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead. Move on. I already said what I had to say. All I said was it opens it up, and I wouldn't sleep it on the Rock. They do have good young pieces as well as contracts that they can make a trade like that work. But anyway, continue. Let's keep it pushing.
Quickly, which one of these two trades are bigger? Vucevic to Boston, Triple J to Utah.
Man, I think because Boston is a little bit more tailored, to win a title. That's a really solid piece, and they got him for basically nothing. Simons' expiring contract and a future second to get I think Vucevic is a 3-time All-Star. I mean, he's been fantastic those years in Chicago and even in Orlando before that. Good, solid big man, can space the floor, good compliment to Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Tatum if he comes back. He could post up, he could rebound. Of course, he's not great defensively, but he could block shots and he could rebound. And what's one of the things that they've needed? They needed a center, and they got a really good one, a very skilled one at a relatively cheap price. But you can't tell me that anyone, including the Jazz themselves, saw them landing Triple J this year. You add a piece like that to a pretty good young core: Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Filipowski, Lauri Markkanen, and guess what, Chaz? Now Walker Kessler really does become expendable. They can now even get other assets by trading Walker Kessler this summer. So it puts them in a good position. But the bigger impact will be felt this year, and it'll be felt by Vooch in Beantown, which pains me because I always wanted him with the Lakers. But do you like the Triple J trade better?
Yeah, because they got the better player with the team that's going, like Keontae George, Lauri Markkanen, Isaiah Collier, Bailey, like those guys. Sensible. They're going to be around.
Yeah,
they're going to be around. They probably could make the playoffs in the next year or two.
Yeah,
maybe play in next year and then playoffs the year after. But I really like the Triple J trade. The fact that the fact that these trades are happening and it's been almost 2 years and Mikal Bridges still went for 5 first-round picks and Kevin Durant has been traded. Luka's been traded. Triple J has been traded. Harden's been traded. Giannis is about to get traded. Clearly, Giannis isn't going to go for 5 first-round picks. I mean, that's what they'd like to get if they can wait. If they wait till the summer, they'll get 5 picks. They may not all be unprotected first round, but they'll get 5 picks and a couple players if they wait until the summer to trade Giannis. The fact that Mikal Bridges went for all of those picks and all these other names that are just quite frankly better than him got traded for less in terms of draft capital, goes without saying, because it's not like major players are getting traded outside of AD for Luka. There's nobody being traded for another pure all-star. Even though Darius Garland is very good, he is not a perennial all-star like James Harden is getting traded for. So in my opinion, it's just wild to see. I love the Vucevic trade for Boston. You get somebody in Anthony Simons out of there, somebody that we knew you were going to flip all along when you traded for him. This is the player that you get. The fact that Vucevic went for way less than what the Lakers were offering to get him for the past 2 seasons. The Pelinka tax is real. The Laker tax is real. The Lakers are probably not going to get anything done at this deadline, and it's going to be an absolute shame because they are the best team that needs a trade as bad. There's no other team that's as good that needs a trade as bad, and they're probably not going to make one. I hope the only trade I hope that they make, just for the sake of making one, is just to get off Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, and Dalton Connect. If you can get off those 3 guys or 2 of those 3 guys at least, and just consolidate, or Vando, those 3 or 4 players, if you can just get those guys, get somebody else new in, just to see what we can get for those guys, that's the margins that I'm talking about for the Lakers. That's all I can really mention when it comes to them. But Triple J to Utah is the bigger impact out of these 2 trades for me.
For sure, for sure. I think Triple J is obviously, because Vooch may not be in Boston next year, whereas I think Triple J will be in Utah for the foreseeable future, and it gives them. It just really, once again, I just talked about, what did I say about Washington? I could make that same argument with Utah. I don't think Utah is very far off. I think Trader Danny did a fantastic job. They kept a lot of their core pieces, Chaz, to get them. You know what I mean? They didn't even have to trade Walker Kessler to make this deal happen. They still have Filipowski. They have Lauri Markkanen. They have Kessler, Bailey, George, Collier, Sensabaugh, Cody Williams. I mean, that's pretty much it.
I could go on forever, baby. Lou,
yeah, exactly.
Skinny Jim, Fat Mo,
Little Mo.
You even kissed my brother Johnny.
Yeah.
Little Mo with the gimpy leg.
Real quick, I'm going to answer two things. Are Cavs in a surprise team for Giannis? This is from Paco. Not unless they're willing to cough up Evan Mobley, and I just don't think that they will. And I don't think Jared Allen is enough to do it either. That's one. The Lakers, I agree with you. Unless their only best bet is to get off, is to get better on the margins. Unless you are going to get a 3-and-D wing who's under contract for the next few years that also happens to be a really good fit next to Luka Doncic and could be that a building block for the franchise that we were just talking about, then I don't see them making that kind of move, because New Orleans now kind of feels like, hey, we could still be a playoff team with this current group. So we're going to see this process through, at least for the rest of this season. Then we'll talk during the summer. So I think at this point, the only thing that you could, I don't necessarily think it's Pelinka's fault. It's just these guys don't have much value, and the Lakers are not going to attach, draft picks just to get off of Gabe or Connect or Vando or Kleber's contract. I just think they're just in this weird kind of spot. So I think they're going to see this process through with this team at this point. The only guy I would like to see them trade, because they're having a garage sale in Chicago, would be Ayo Dosunmu. I think that could be a piece for the now as well as the later, but Chicago's not going to trade him for Gabe or Connect straight up. I would like them to, but I just don't think that happens. Chaz, do you? Ayo Dosunmu for Gabe and Connect.
I don't like it.
Okay. Well, I mean, no, I don't like it. I mean, I like it for the Lakers. I don't like it if you're Chicago. I like Ayo Dosunmu, though. They need a young, athletic, dynamic guard who could defend, and Dosunmu could be that guy.
For Gabe and Connect. I mean, yeah, if you get younger by getting off Gabe, but I would just I don't think they'll make a trade that really
is tight. I know.
Getting Austin Reeves back yesterday was their big move. So,
yeah, I guess so.
I don't know.
Let me just say this.
Really quick.
No,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. No. Good. I'm done.
Before we get on out of here, I just want, there is a big game on Sunday, and I'd be remiss, even outside of all this trade deadline hoopla, if we didn't at least mention it. I've tried my very best, Chris. I'm still struggling. It's been 10 days.
It's been hard.
And it is difficult to just acknowledge that the punk-ass Seattle Seahawks are playing the punk-ass New England Patriots for another punk-ass Super Bowl. And these Rams would have beaten both, but you didn't get the opportunity to play New England because you couldn't get through Seattle. I'm just having the hardest time. But I got picks for you. Nonetheless, New England, 4.5. It's going to take everything out of them to even keep that game close. I do think Seattle wins. I hope they don't. But New England, I think it's a field goal game. Take the 4.5. 4 is the key number. If you're on the other side of the hook of the 4, take it. Under 46, under 45.5. If this number goes down to 45, still take it under, because both of these defenses are going to be very, very good. And it's the Super Bowl. First quarter is always going to be jitters. Take the first quarter under as well. Both of these defenses are good. Chris, what do you make of these two picks for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, they're not bad. I think the under for 45.5 seems about right. I kind of got a 24-17 kind of feel to it, 20-17. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. Don't forget that Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Giants. That was a 17-14 game. The one where the Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, ruined the perfect season. As a Rams fan, I hear you, man. I mean, it sucks because I've always said I'll root for the team that beats my team. That way I just have a hard time doing that. And obviously I can't get behind New England because it's freaking Boston sports. It's the Patriot way. I can't get behind that either, even though I am disappointed that both Belichick and Kraft are not in the Hall of Fame. I do believe they both deserve that. Patriots at plus 4.5. I think I could see that happening. It's not going to be a great matchup. I think there's a lot of meh feeling about this Super Bowl. There's not really a storyline outside of, oh, hey, they're replaying each other for the first time in 11 years. Yeah, but no one is here from those respective teams. You know what I mean? Not even the coaches are here. It's not Carroll versus Belichick. It's Mike McDonald versus Mike Vrabel. Two very good coaches. They've done a fantastic job in a relatively short time with their team, especially Vrabel, his first year with the Patriots. He's dynamic coach, man. I wanted him as an assistant with the Rams, but I'm glad he got a second shot as a head coach. I think you're right. I think this will come down to the defenses. I give Seattle the edge in the win, though. I don't know why. I just give Seattle the edge in the win. I just think Drake May has got to pay a little bit more dues. I just don't think they're quite there yet. But wouldn't shock me, man. That run game that they have, enough reliable targets, wouldn't shock me if the Patriots pull this one out either. So it'll be a decent game, I guess. I don't know.
Paco, why does everybody want the Lakers to go back to the well and take AD and Lonzo and all these other players? I don't get it. No Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo might be
no
done,
AD.
bro. Yeah.
Although
can I ask you this?
I'm not saying they're not good players. I'm just saying it's
No,
time to move on. Go get younger.
I hear you.
Other guys that have not been on the team.
For sure. Or get guys whose knees haven't needed an experimental surgery just to save their careers, in the case of Lonzo Ball. I'll tell you this, though, Chaz, and tell me if you agree. I would take Lonzo over Gabe. I would definitely do that. But the Lonzo that we saw that first year in Chicago, I don't think, exists anymore. That's my only issue with Lonzo. I just wonder if he's damaged goods at this point, kind of like Ben Simmons, kind of felt like Ben Simmons was damaged goods. Markelle Fultz, a lot of these guys just kind of feel like they're done, and those guys may never play in the NBA again. By the way, I think D'Angelo Russell might be done after this season. And same with Gabe. I don't know if these guys are going to net any sort of contracts. I mean, and if they do, they have to decide, because I think they'll get paid in like Europe, like Greece or China or Turkey, one of those leagues or something like that. But if it comes down, remember Kendrick Nunn? Kendrick Nunn has been out of the league since the Lakers cut ties with them. You're right. I think he played one other team after that year in 2023 or whatever, and he's done. Yeah. So these guys have to make a decision whether they want to play in the NBA for a minimum or make more money elsewhere overseas and have a more featured role. I'm just saying, D'Angelo's barely played the last couple of years. His game's not getting better. Gabe is proving now he might be a fluke. So maybe they get a 1-year deal somewhere and reinvent themselves like Dennis Schroeder did, or maybe they just have a complete falling out and decide, you know what, we're going to go play overseas somewhere. I don't know, but I think Lonzo may catch on somewhere, but I just think his foreseeable future is not good. So,
well, on that note, we will leave it. We're a little bit over, but we appreciate it. There was so much to talk about. We appreciate you guys tapping in to the Outlet Forum in this special edition of the trade deadline of the Outlet Forum. We will see you guys next week, and hopefully, we'll see a few more players switch jerseys before the playoffs start at the deadline tomorrow. We will see you guys next week. Thanks for tapping in. We appreciate you guys as always. Peace.